Welcome back to the Fear and Beer podcast,
where we discuss all things Halloween Horror Nights, horror movies, and just a little bit of beer.
So kill the lights, grab a cold one, and join us as we dive into this mad world we love.
I'm Nick.
I'm Seamus.
And I'm Jamie.
Like scary movies.
Uh-huh.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
You miss me.
Aren't you drinking?
I never drink. Why?
And as a reminder to all listening, if you want to help us to continue growing as a podcast, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on whichever streaming platform you use.
To stay up to date with us and all of our episodes, be sure to follow all of our socials. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Fear and Beer Pod.
Feel free to reach out to us. We love to interact with you all.
Well, we almost thought we didn't have an announcement. No, not a house announcement. No, not scare zones. No shows, no food, no beverage. But a crazy new premium event that we've kind of always joked about this sort of offering, but we never really thought it would completely come to fruition. So it's interesting. So we're going to talk about that. We obviously didn't have Jamie with us last week to go over the remaining 4 houses. We talked about Slaughter Cinema and Goblin's Feast a few weeks back, but since then, more houses have been announced. So we're going to get her opinion on those. We're going to see if she can sort of sway our opinion a little bit and maybe get us more excited for these or not. But we got to get her opinion out here so everyone can kind of know where everybody on the whole podcast stands. So that's what we're going to be getting into tonight. Now, a couple other things. Jamie, you weren't here with us since trivia. So do you want to do you have anything to say about trivia night to because me and Seamus kind of said our piece about it.
Yeah, I figured you guys kind of already said everything I would say too, but I just wanted to say how much fun it was. I can't believe so many of you guys showed up, so many people coming up to me, saying hi. It was really, really nice talking to you all, and I know I'm kind of awkward in person a little bit at first, but it was just so overwhelming, the amount of support everyone just came out, and literally everybody at our job was like, wow, you guys had a lot of people show up. This is great, and it just made us feel really good, and it's nice to see so many people actually listen to and enjoy us, because that's really what makes this special. And it was a really good turnout, and we definitely, hopefully we'll have some more returning in the future, maybe with a different setup depending on our job. So yeah, it was really awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool, and we'll definitely be looking to do something like this again in the future. We got more we got more comments on one of our YouTube videos, an older one, saying that they had come down and from trivia. I don't know if they came specifically. I think it's Chris on YouTube.
Chris from New York. I met him. He was the sweetest, and he said, "Yeah."
They said Cincinnati on the comments.
Mm-hmm. He
from
told
Cincinnati,
me
so they traveled down for trivia. That's crazy.
Yeah, he said he was down here
awesome.
on vacation.
Good crazy. Good
yeah.
crazy. So we'll definitely let everybody know in advance when we're going to be doing these again, because I'd assume sometime in the fall. We try to do it around that time plus this time, preseason, middle of the season. So that way people are in town. We try to do it when we're in season. We'll do it probably on a Monday or so, just so that way it's not on a Horror Nights night, because we don't want to kind of make people get pulled away and choose from one or the other. Because if I had a choice, I would obviously choose Halloween Horror Nights as well, not doing trivia about it. But
yeah, definitely.
And a couple of the things we've sort of been teasing, we're going to have, and it's funny because I feel like clockwork, without setting reminders or anything like this, last year around this time is when we dropped our shirts for the season. And we are going to be doing that again. We got five shirt designs that were whipped up that we're going to be releasing very soon. We should have some test items coming into us, and we're going to kind of make sure that everything looks all right, and then we'll start releasing them. So keep your eyes on our socials, primarily for Instagram and Twitter for the announcements, because what we did last year was really fun, and I think I want to do it again, where we're going to kind of reveal a design every day through the week and then make them available on that Friday. So, if you stick around on YouTube, or if you're listening, find us on YouTube, because maybe later on I'll show a little preview of one of the designs on video format.
Ooh.
We'll see. Stick around. Let's get to it. So beer. Let's get into some beer, because I picked up last week. I went to Half Barrel and I picked this one up. This one, we haven't had them in a while. This is sort of an old reliable for us, but this is called Silly Rabbit. This is from Hidden Springs Ale Work. It's got kind of the Trix rabbit in a car, whole bunch of cool little designs on there. Very tattoo flash art style, but this is a fruited sour. It is a fruited cereal inspired sour ale with lactose. And this is a collab with Big Baby Scumbag. Never heard of that. But Hidden Springs is from Tampa, obviously, so it's semi-local to us. 5.5% ABV. I did not grab a glass. I forgot to grab a glass. So I'm going straight from the can today. But their stuff never disappoints. They always have a very distinct taste. They're Hidden Springs because they do coat it heavy with that milk sugar, which is always good. So
I like Hidden Springs. They always have funky stuff.
Oh, yeah. I haven't had them in a while. Big sour up front, but that lactose really coats it at the end. But it does give you that like that sugary taste at the end, almost like the bag, the bottom of the bag of cereal. That's what it kind of really reminds me of. It gives me a lot of that style of taste, that dusty feeling. So good stuff. Is anybody else? What do we have around the horn today? Anybody got anything good?
Well, I already cracked mine open, the Old Faithful High Noon. So, Seamus, I saw you grab a little something from the fridge.
Well, I mean...
you're Old Faithful too?
Yeah. It's been... I mean,
nice.
Now, hopefully, I've got some spare nickels in the bank account that I can go buy some real good beer this week. So hopefully I'll have something better for next week.
Well, it's funny too how Jamie brings up the Nooners, because even at trivia night, somebody was like pointing out to you the fact that they were
Chris.
drinking a high. Oh, okay, yeah, perfect.
Yes. So funny. I was like, oh my god, you really watch it on YouTube too? Because I talk about it, but it's like I'd be showing them. That's so funny though.
Yeah.
You just can't go wrong.
No, refreshing, delectable all the time. So let's get into these houses a little bit that we didn't talk about with you previously. So since we've talked all the time, but since we've talked on the podcast, we were announced Major Sweets Candy Factory. Now, again, we're not going to spend too much time, myself and Seamus, talking about these because we kind of said our piece last week. I'm going to read through them, and then one at a time, I'll let you kind of give your thoughts on them, and then at the end, me and Seamus can kind of decide if it's moved up at all. But it's just been a week. I don't expect a lot to change from myself or Seamus, but things could happen. So, house announcement, Major Sweets Candy Factory. You've been invited to chaperone a field trip to a candy factory, but this sweet tour is about to turn sour when free samples transform the kids into candy-coated killers wielding sharpened candies. Now, something that I heard about this house that we didn't discuss last week, I heard about it after the fact, is that this is a prequel. This is supposedly taking place like right before that Halloween night. So
that makes it a little intriguing.
I don't know if that changes that at all for anybody. But Jamie, what are your thoughts on Major Sweets getting that call up to the big leagues of Scare Zone to House?
Well, I could imagine you guys are fairly excited for it as well. I know you are, which I am too, but I like the route that they're going, because I know when we were talking for the spec map and stuff like that, when we had it on there for the guest map and whatnot, we had the couple different theories. And I know you had mentioned, Nick, that you really wanted like the factory style candy setting. And I just think that it's one of those Scare Zones that didn't have too many elements in it, but it had all the different costumes, all the different characters, which really added a lot to it. So I'm really excited to see how much they'll be able to do with it now than they will actually have the house set up. And I hope we get some returning characters. I think we will, especially the Black Cat, one of my favorite. The robot's really cool. And I'm excited to see what they do and how Major Sweets' role will play in the house, if he's kind of been leading us through it. Are the kids going to be attacking him, killing him? Is he going to kind of be the headmaster over the minions and they're going to be attacking the civilians? I'm really excited to see what route they go, but either way, I think we're all equally looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and that's the thing that changes it a little bit for me now, is the sequel thing now, is that this takes place before that, or sorry, prequel. So it takes place before, maybe he's making all of those, because all the kids in the zone were crazed and they had the weapons. So this is taking the kids from kids and turning them into these weird little murder monsters. So that changes it a little bit for me. I don't know if for the better or the worse, but I'm interested.
I think it'll give it more of a storyline, which is nice, because obviously it had a story in itself in the Scare Zone, but now I feel it will get that more background to it.
Yeah, I was kind of already on the side of it being a prequel anyways. I don't know if like I wasn't going one way or the other. I think just personally I was leaning more towards it being a prequel, or at least wanting it to be more of a prequel because it would make more sense. I feel like it'd be hard to kind of follow up the Scare Zone and do like a follow like coming soon. This is the Scare Zone. This is kind of where we go from here. I felt like it was going to be more of a this is how we got here type of story. Because really, where do you go from, hey, we've, got a bunch of bloodthirsty kids who have been converted by the candy that they ate. How do you go from that to let's build off of that story rather than saying, how did we get to this point?
Yeah.
So I think that actually makes more sense. And to be honest with you, now that like that's kind of been leaked a little bit, I'm more excited, I think, for the house than I was before. And I mean, I'm already pretty hyped for this one to begin with, but I think that helps it build a little bit more in my mind, because at least I'm more interested in figuring out, like I said, how we got here rather than where do we go from here.
Yeah, I don't think I'm sure there's stories we can do as a sequel, but I'd much rather see the prequel, because if this is the end event where the children are killing all the people, like next season at Major Sweets' Candy Factory, we're doing it again. Like, no, I just want to see what went into this. What are these candies that like just decimated this town?
Yeah,
that's what I was wondering too. Hopefully they'll have some cool merch too, and like special little candy treats you could buy. I would imagine they would.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for the food options that are related to this house, because we're gonna have to get some.
I really hope that Major Sweets, if he greets us at the entrance of the house, that he does the kind of limp into the somersault like Willy Wonka does.
It's like the Hunchback. Instead of the bungee, he has to do somersaults. I hope he's just throwing candy at us, like hard candies, like fireballs, like those
Jolly Ranchers in the crowd.
Yeah, just
gross
pelting people with
strawberry candies, the really tasty ones with the chewy stuff.
Eat my strawberry, asshole.
I hope they have all the worst candies, because those are my favorite candies.
As long as I get a watermelon one, I'm good.
I like very bad candies. Jamie makes fun of me because I eat candy like an 85-year-old lady, but
he eats bottle caps. Who has ever in their right mind?
That's true. I have to
enjoy bottle caps.
Elite candies. And the little dots on the paper. Oh,
no.
Delicious.
Wow.
Dogs are going crazy. We'll let Jamie's mic go off mute for a second. Let her go.
Yeah, I do want to ask her before we move on to the next house, because you and I had spoken about it a little bit last week. Is what do we think Miss Treat's role is going to be?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of interested to see where she's leaning towards. I know that you had said that you weren't really sure. I personally felt like she'll be not like a super major role, but she'll definitely be a part of it. And I'm interested to find out, is it going to be kind of like them working together, or the two of them kind of vying for the control or something along those lines? So interested to find out kind of like how she thinks that's going to happen, or where does she think they're going to go with that? I don't know if she's back yet or not, but
I think the coast is clear. I was trying to get him to come up his little ramp, but he wants to stay down. But I am interested to see what part she plays as well, if she was in there from the beginning, or if she come about maybe later on in the story. And kind of to go off what you guys were saying too, how it's actually going to be a prequel. I didn't even think of it, Seamus, that it would make more sense now looking back at the Scare Zone, having it be a prequel versus a sequel. Or like a continuation from the Scare Zone.
Yeah, I mean, could they do that? Yes, of course they could. But I think the better bet is to go back. Sorry, the dogs are...
That's the loudest they've been since you guys got them. I have to give them credit. They've been pretty good.
Fair warning for everybody listening. Our house is sort of a madhouse right now. We have a handful of friends screaming and watching the NBA Dallas Mavericks game because we're gambling degenerates. So if you hear random screaming in the background, it's them. If you hear barking, it's probably because of the screaming.
Well, everybody should be used to it with my dogs. I mean, my dogs are loud too. Specifically Millie. We all know Millie's
This is what we do here at Fear and Beer. We fly by the skin of our teeth. Is that the saying? I don't know.
Fly by the seat of our pants.
Why did I say skin of teeth? Maybe because
Skin
that's
of teeth, which is a different
a
saying
horror version.
altogether.
It's a horror
different
version.
phrase.
Yes, that one. It's those.
But if it's not, listen, if it's not a dog barking, it's a cat sticking its ass in my face. So I
Yeah,
mean, like, it's one of the three things.
If you watch on YouTube, you have seen Seamus's cat's
Oh, it's
butthole.
true. I guess the listeners don't know what I'm talking about, but if you watch on YouTube, you'll know what I'm talking about.
But yeah, so that's Major Sweets. I'm sure we'll be talking about all these houses for a while until this event starts. So let's move on to the next one. The next one, haunted house announcement, the Museum Deadly Exhibit. You're going to check out the Rotting Stone, the local folklore museum's infamous new exhibit. An evil spirit escapes from within, possessing the other displays and decaying everything in its path. So Jamie, what were your initial thoughts for the Museum Deadly Exhibits?
This one I wasn't as excited for, I guess, because I feel like you included, which it is funny. I feel like when we had talked about Goblin's Feast previously, that you guys said this kind of might be like the jokey, like comedy house, and then I was thinking maybe like Major Sweets. And I feel like this maybe could go either the way of being kind of funny or being kind of scary. I wasn't as intrigued until I reread the description again because I tried to post it too quick on the page. But I saw that it was like a folklore exhibit, which kind of intrigues me too. Because if they went like the Wicker Man route or like Midsummer, even though I've never seen that, I really like folklore. It does intrigue me. I think that would be pretty cool. And I'm just really interested to see if it's just going to be based on one exhibit itself, or if we're going to go through the museum and see multiple different things, or if it's just going to follow one storyline. So it does intrigue me to a point, but definitely not as high up on my list as some of the others that we've had announced so far.
I mean,
I think you make a good point. I mean, you mentioned, is this about one exhibit or the whole museum? And they do mention that we're here to see a new exhibit. So I'm wondering if maybe the new exhibit has corrupted the other exhibits in some way, and that's kind of where the story is going to go. We'll get multiple exhibits, but this rotting stone maybe is cursed, or it gives us there's some sort of evil revolving around it that kind of enables the other exhibits to either come alive or corrupt them in some way. So that actually brings up a good point. I'm glad you said that, Jimmy, because I didn't think of that until just now.
Yeah, that's sort of how I took it, where it says we're going to see the new exhibit and it unleashes an evil and brings the other ones to life. So I take it as whatever we're going to see is the thing that was possessed. It's not like a ghost walking the halls. It was this new particular exhibit that has been brought in is cursed or haunted or what have you. And that's what causes all this chaos to ensue. So I'm interested. This one still hasn't moved up or down really for me. I'm curious if the Rotting Stone, I'm curious what that name has to do with anything. I don't know what it actually is meaning. I don't know if it's, for some reason I'm thinking maybe it's because I watched too much, whether it's National Treasure or Night at the Museum. I think it was Night at the Museum, the Smithsonian, where they have Amun-Ra's tablet. I just picture a tablet that has the powers and brings stuff to life. But this is very clearly a local museum and not one of those large scale, history of the world style museums. So it's definitely going to be on a smaller scale, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into the next one. I think this one is probably one of your most hyped. This is Monstros, the Monsters of Latin America. You know what? Oh God. All right. I'll take a swing at this again. Tenquedo La Muerta as your guide.
Oh,
You'll be... What? Did I do that wrong again?
No, you did good. Go ahead.
Asking for Piedad from these three terrifying monsters. The blood-sucking Talapuchi, owl-faced witch La Lechuza, and bone-ripping El Ciblon. Tickets on sale now.
Tickets on sale now.
That's the English word. What are your thoughts on Monstros? Did you watch any of the walkthroughs recently of Hollywood? We kind of at least have more of a concrete idea of this versus the other originals.
Mm-hmm. I sure did. I actually, after it recently got announced, I started watching the walkthroughs again on YouTube, and it just made me so much more excited for it. I'm really glad that we're getting something from Hollywood, bringing a little bit of the West Coast here to me so we don't have to go all the way over there. But I think, I don't know if you guys have watched the walkthroughs yet, but the different creatures that they have, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the names as well because I'm not looking at them on my screen, so I don't want to try to attempt them.
Oh, it's not so fun when somebody else has to try to announce these stupid goddamn names.
Exactly. You could do it. It's okay.
They're 47 syllables, 13 vowels, some random marks.
But it's really cool. It kind of reminds me of the layout of Holidays in Hell, how they had it kind of going by different holiday in each room. And it kind of goes for HR Blood and Guts too when they had the one here in Orlando. But it kind of goes by different creature, room by room. And then the entranceway is kind of like the underground gravedigger, gravekeeper, monstrous skeleton monster who kind of leads you in as your guide. And all the creature work that they did is super duper cool. And they have like one of them, which is like the bird creature in the big nest, and I couldn't tell if it was like an animatronic or an actual scare actor, but just the design work that they did looks awesome. I know they'll be able to do great things with this house. I can't wait to see it. I think like this is one of probably my favorite originals that we're going to have this year. Hopefully it lives up to the hype. I think it will. But yeah, it's going to be really cool to see this one. I think this is maybe the first original we've gotten from Hollywood before. I don't want to say that and then be incorrect, but I know we've gotten
I think it is.
House of Thousand Corpses Hollywood had originally, and then we got it a couple years later. So I'm not really sure what other trade-offs we've done, but it's definitely cool to get. Yeah, I didn't think so. It's definitely cool to get something new. Original. Although I would like to see Holidays in Hell come over here too, but maybe someday. Yeah,
me too. We kind of we thought we were going to get. We knew. I don't want to say we knew, but we had a very good feeling that we would take something from Hollywood this year, and we went with Holidays in Hell. We should have put Monstros on there because we could have been right about that too, but.
Yeah,
hindsight's 2020.
Jamie's definitely right. I think that with this one, we're going to get a ton of those. This is going to be our puppet house, like a lot of like big, like full puppets. And I think they do a really good job with their puppetry effects. So if Chupacabra is anything to go by, this house should be incredible. So I don't know if my opinion's changed at all. I'm already pretty hyped on it, but I will say, Jamie, your enthusiasm has definitely given me more to look forward to. So I'm really excited to kind of see where they take these characters. And like I told Nick last week, I think for me, it's getting to experience some of these different cultural stories. It's not just, hey, here's a bunch of American folklore and we just stick with that. We're giving you more Latin culture, more Asian culture, and you're going to get more of these different characters, or if you want to call them what are they called? I'm your best friend. What are they called? Oh my god, I'm getting old. Like Wendigo. Like what the hell do they call these? Cryptids.
Oh,
Jesus
cryptids
Christ.
Legends. Yeah.
God, I'm getting old, losing my mind. But whether you call them cryptids or different types of folklore, I like that we're branching out. So that really kind of excites me about this house, is that we're going to get to experience something different.
Yeah, because I mean, the Bigfoot's fun and all. Like we love the Yeti houses, we do.
Yeah.
But the Chupacabras is fun. Like there's more American cryptids I want to have. I
want a Jersey Devil house for sure.
Like I want Jersey Devil and I want a Mothman.
Mothman.
Like I want, and for me, you can lump those all together. You can do how this is Monstros, the monsters of Latin America. You can do like a Monsters of North America or something like that. And we don't have to have Yeti in there. We've had him enough. And as much as we love him, I'm curious if we'll get a little snippet of him in the Slaughter Cinema, because that's where he kind of found his birth in Horror Nights. But I wouldn't mind doing like a North American version again, where we do get some of those other cryptids that we haven't really flipped over. If they did, if they want to stick with the three, I'd love to do Wendigo, Jersey Devil, and Mothman. I think that's a very fun, very varied group of cryptids.
Yeah. And I think with the Wendigo too, specifically, I mean, not to get off topic, but you can really delve into that Native American culture, which I don't think they've ever really done. And there's so much involved in that like there's so many different stories you can do that I would really be I'd be down for that. So this is more of a plea to Horror Nights and to HHN. Like, guys, please make this happen for me. But yeah.
I'm glad you guys mentioned that too, that we're getting, sorry to interrupt you a little bit, Nick. I just wanted to mention that. I'm glad you guys brought up though, that we're getting more of the different Latin American culture cryptids. I think it's really fun. It's something that, like you guys said too, growing up, we had like the Florida skunk ape. You get like Bigfoot, like the Jersey Devil, stuff like that. And it's really cool to explore these other cultures and see like the different stories were told from them and all that kind of stuff. And it's always been really interesting to me.
Yeah. So Jamie, since you're the resident Floridian here, what the hell is a Florida skunk ape?
The Florida skunk ape, I'm pretty sure I've never seen it myself, so I don't know.
Oh, you don't say.
But not yet, at least. Not yet. But the Florida skunk ape, I think it's supposed to be very similar in the likes of like Bigfoot, if I'm not mistaken.
Like a mini Bigfoot, maybe?
I feel like he's like a standard size Bigfoot, maybe like 5'10", not like 6 foot, nothing crazy. Maybe like
I've never seen him, but he's about 5'10", 220. Smells really bad. Goes by skate.
But yeah, so the Florida skunk ape, don't know too much about him, but that's all I got for that. I don't want him to listen to me.
Well, I'm a northern Yankee boy, so I've never heard of that before. So I had to clarify.
I'm looking at him right now. I looked him up just to say, well, this is just what do you call it? Artist descriptions of him.
Of course it is. Yes, of course. Why would there be photographs?
Apparently they have a big statue of him at the zoo. Long story short, he kind of looks like a mixture between Bigfoot, but also the scary Bigfoot from the Slim Jim commercial specifically.
Oh, yeah.
The
goofy one.
You're welcome. You're welcome if you had the same questions that I did.
Yeah. And now you got to hear me ramble about the Florida skunk ape for a little bit with bad information.
Well, like you mentioned, you watched the walkthroughs. Me and Seamus have not. I don't think I'm going to.
I'm not going to.
I want to go in as blind as I can.
Oh, you guys are the worst. I knew you wouldn't watch it, but that's okay.
Because you're a goddamn present shaker.
I'm not. You know what? You always say that. I don't mind spoilers, but I don't be shaking presents. Even when I was little, I wanted to be surprised. I would get angry when I would find a surprise like present when I was younger. I'd be like, "Oh my god!" Stressing out.
Around.
Like, I can't believe I know about it. My mom wouldn't hide presents very well when I was younger.
Well,
it would be spots I would always check.
Yeah, well, I remember the day I found out and I found them. I wouldn't say it's traumatizing, but I remember that day. But
I was upset.
What was I gonna say? And now I've lost track of my thoughts. But I was gonna say something along the lines that we were talking about.
Watching the videos and spoiling it.
Oh yeah.
So like I don't care about being spoiled, really. I mean, I can still enjoy a movie even if I know the twist. I won't lie and say that it's the same experience, but you know, I don't go out of my way to necessarily hide from media that's going to potentially spoil something. But in this case, since it's a little more in your face, a little more interactive, a little more real life, I don't necessarily want to watch the house. I'll probably do it after we go through it once, just to kind of see where the differences are, and like, is it exactly the same thing, or did they change some things up for it? But before the event starts, I don't really feel like going to watch the videos of it specifically.
I think you guys will really enjoy it though. So either way,
I agree. I think I am going to enjoy it.
Yeah. So let's get into our next announcement. That came the following day after that because we got hit back to back. Triplets of Terror. You're invited to the Barmy Triplets birthday bash, but beware, they celebrate by recreating their family's murders. Prepare for a gory gathering. Tickets now on sale. This
is so exciting for me. I feel like this and Monstrose are definitely in my top 2 for the originals. Major Sweets would come in a close third, but definitely these two I feel like are just right up my alley. Immediately when I saw the little picture design that Horror Nights posted when they announced the house, the 3 triplets them. Short intermission, 1 second.
Goddamn editing. We're gonna have to.
3 triplets themselves. I'm back. Don't worry, Nick. The 3 triplets
I'm not editing
themselves.
This. I'm just letting this run.
No,
we're
just letting it ride. We're just letting it ride. But
this is what you came for.
Yeah, the character design of them was just very hillbilly, kind of redneck horror, dirty, grungy Rob Zombie movies, Devil's Rejects, House of 1,000 Corpses, which I'm a huge fan of. Nick always makes fun of me because he always says I love the redneck horror, but I just think this will be so interesting. I'm really thinking that this will be one of our more gory houses. This will be one of the more scary houses. Mm-hmm. I'm picturing, I don't want to say the Strangers style setting, maybe a mix between like the Strangers Texas Chainsaw Massacre desolate setting, maybe throw in a mix of something else in there. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. I like that it doesn't really give too much in depth of description of what it is going to entail, other than like the murders, the birthday party, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. I'm really excited to see if they'll do kind of the birthday scene as you're walking in, and then the murders throughout the house. I'm really looking forward to this. I can't really think of a good way of how to put it, how I want it to be seen.
Yeah, I'd imagine we walk in at a birthday party.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And I don't know. Same thing when I was watching some of the Slaughter Cinema little walkthrough videos to get ready for the episode previously that we did. Same thing with the Shitty's Kids, just like that birthday party, like crappy style setting murder. I don't know. It just makes for really like fun and scary for me. I don't know, just something really like ominous and creepy about it. But this one is definitely up in my top. I'm excited to see what they do with it. I know I already said that. I feel like I don't have too much more to say about it because it is hard to explain when we don't know too much, but looking forward to it. Were you guys as excited for this as I was, or?
No.
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 You think they're goofy, don't you?
No, I don't want to
poo-poo on it.
I just don't want to reiterate everything I said last week and kind of just dwell on it and bore everybody. To me, just real quick, I still think this is the Hell Block house. This is the house that they needed to fill space with.
I think it's the museum.
It's really?
Yeah.
So the reason I don't think so is because this one feels like, if you've seen a post-apocalyptic or hillbilly horror or just slasher house in general, you've seen them all. I think this to me, this is going to be Texas Chainsaw without Leatherface. And
That's a fair point. And I did mention Texas Chainsaw.
And I feel like, at least with the museum, we really don't know what's going to be in it yet. I mean, other than we know that there's something called the Rotting Stone, but it could really be anything. Mm-hmm. At least I think there's more potential for it than the three, hillbilly Rob Zombie-esque slasher characters. I'm not saying that it's going to be bad. I still think that there's more promise to this than there is with goblins. Sorry, everybody likes goblins, but yeah, I mean, you're right, Jim. I'm not gonna sit here and shit on it either. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, this is gonna be the worst thing I've ever seen. But I'm just not as hyped up for it. I'm a little nervous about this one being a little boring, a little bit samey, a little bit.
That's a fair point, though.
Like it's the same thing.
It could get very repetitive.
It could,
right? And I'm not one to poo-poo gore. Like I'm totally down for gory houses, but as long as it makes sense and there's something to it, it's not just stabbing this person, shooting that person, killing this person. That can get boring after a while.
I need
Especially
some
we
really
did just have Texas 2 years ago. Yeah. Sorry, Nick.
I need some really unique kills in this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a recreating a murder of you stabbing somebody on a bed.
Give me Art the Clown style uniqueness, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, like the head's a birthday cake, and they're cutting a piece of birthday cake, but it's the head.
Yeah, and have a bunch of candles in a body.
Whatever.
Cook a whole body and have the candles on the body.
Yeah.
Kind of how they had in Blood Moon, where you had the gourds growing out of the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
do something like that.
Yes, unique scenes. Give me something that's unique.
Those were creepy. Those were weird.
I mean, just don't give me the ubiquitous scary car and the pig pen and here's a random
chicken
hippie room with hippie grandpa. You know what I mean? Don't give me Texas Chainsaw Massacre without Leatherface. Don't give me House of a Thousand Corpses without
Otis
or whatever. That's my point. Don't just do that. Try to be different with it. Mm-hmm. And I think they can, but they haven't done enough yet to really prove to me otherwise. That's the only thing.
Yeah, not with what they've given.
What they've shown so far doesn't excite me.
Yeah,
this is my point.
Yeah, I'm kind of probably smack dab in the middle. I'm pretty excited for it because I think it can. I think the possibilities are very high for this house, but I think it could. This is the house I'm probably most nervous about falling flat because this could get very repetitive very quick.
Yeah, I don't know if this may be the one that I said last week, but I definitely there was one that I was like, this is the potential. Pine Straw House. Like this is the
It
potential
could come out of nowhere and
this year where it's like it could be really, really good and blow everybody away, or it could be mediocre and
just falls.
You know, it's a fun little hey, let's do something. What do you want to do? Let's go through Hellbilly Horror or whatever the hell it's called.
We didn't secure the rights for a slasher IP this year. Let's just make our own.
Right. Exactly.
But,
or we're already halfway doing a slasher, so now shit, what do we do? Well, let's just throw some of our own characters in it and make it work.
Yeah. So that's kind of our houses right now as they stand. So Jamie, why don't you get into this next a little bit, because this is kind of came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear anybody talking about this, and it's
you're the one that gave us this information anyways, so
it's very unique. So why don't you take it from there and we'll kind of give our thoughts.
Yeah, so pretty exciting news we got this morning. Something a little different that they're doing for Horror Nights this year for Orlando. They are doing the Premium Scream Night, which is going to be on August 29th versus the original start date of August 30th for Horror Nights. So basically it's kind of going to be an early entry for those who maybe want to see the event before it actually starts, maybe for those who are just visiting for one night out of the whole event itself and want to get everything done. It's going to be limited capacity, which means shorter wait times, which is what it said in the press release. They are going to do, this was probably the thing that stood out the most to me, but they're going to be doing staggered line entry. So they're kind of going to be sending you in by your group, kind of spurting you in there, which I think is really nice. It's all you can enjoy food and non-alcoholic beverages, and it's going to be like the theme food that they have for this year, which I didn't really know if all you care to enjoy is the same as all you could eat. Maybe they just said it differently, but I was like, maybe there's like a loophole in it that it's like all you care to enjoy, so maybe it's not all you could eat, but I guess it's the same thing. Anyways, getting off topic there. You get a special, here I actually read it in the email, an exclusive event souvenir credential and lanyard, which is pretty cool. They're going to have select attractions open like they normally do for Horror Nights, which I'm assuming would be The Mummy, Men in Black, Simpsons when they have it open, and possibly, not Jimmy Fallon, I'm sorry, possibly Rip Ride Rockit. And it is going to include free parking as well for the night once you get your... Here, sorry about that, guys. I was getting distracted reading the email. It's going to include free parking for the night once you get your ticket, so you get free access or free like regular parking. You can't get prime parking or something
after
like that.
After a certain hour, I would assume.
Yeah, I think so. Or I think it's included with the ticket because it says
included with the ticket, I would imagine, so you can get there on time.
Yeah, which is nice. It says free self-parking on August 29th. So I guess if you show them your little ticket, flash it up there when you're at the little booth. The big thing that people were asking about, so the pricing wise is going to be $350 for your regular HHN goer. If you have a annual or a seasonal pass for Universal Studios, you get a whopping $25 off your little ticket for a total of $325 plus tax. So don't know what the plus tax is going to be, but there's going to be some little fees and stuff. Personally, I do think it's a little pricey. I think it's a really cool idea. I think that maybe this is when they're going to do their media night.
Yeah, I the price is really what gets me. The premium of this is really, really cool. This is something we've kind of discussed in the past where like we would hope for a night of less congestion and stuff like that. So I'm super on board. I think this is a really, really cool idea. Mm-hmm. However, for us, I think, but for me in particular, as people that get the frequent fear passes that go so often, I don't know if I can shell out pretty much what the frequent fear pass costs itself just for one night. Mm-hmm. I think the frequent fear pass last year was like, we don't get the ultimate. We get the frequent fear plus, which is all the days, including your first and last Saturday, but no other Saturdays other than that. Yeah. I think that was at the $350 mark or something around that. I don't think it was much more than that. So to pay essentially the same price just to go one day earlier. Now, the big thing for me is the pulsing through the houses. That's the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So since I didn't know, Jamie actually gave me more information tonight than I had before. I thought initially I thought it was just, hey, you're getting in early. Obviously, this is like a special night for you because you paid the premium. I thought like the biggest benefit, like you just said, Nick, is the pulse is like going in as groups. Because to me, like that brings me back, somewhat nostalgic for like the old haunts that I used to go to when I was younger. Because that's how they run those events. Like they would let in a group of people, wait, let another group of people in. And if you've been to like Sir Henry's, they kind of do the same thing where they let a certain number of people in. And what's good about that is it definitely controls who's in it at one time. You can have more direct scares, more controlled scares. You're actually, you don't feel like you go through it and then you're getting the tail end of all the scares. Like that's no fun. And we all know that like that's a big complaint for most people every year is that, hey, it feels like you're kind of being rushed through the house. You don't have time to stop and really, or not necessarily stop, but slow down and enjoy the house itself. Unless of course you go on a slow night where there's not a lot of people there. And we've been there. We've done that before. We can all attest to being there for certain times where
late nights.
You're going through the house and there's really not a whole lot of people. I mean, just as an aside, last year, my son and I went through Dragons and we were the only two that chose the cold side. So him and I had like a party with Merlin. But either way, that is, I think, the biggest draw to this event is that specifically the pulsing. But I didn't know that we were getting all you can eat food, which I think, if you think about it, makes up for some of the cost. Because normally, I mean, food is what? $8, $9, $10, $12, $11, $12 a plate.
$15 a piece,
depending on what you get. If it's truly all you can eat, I think that, or as you said, Jamie, all you can enjoy.
I can enjoy it a lot.
And I think it's the same. I think that's all it means. I just think that if they call it all you can eat,
psychologically, I think it's like a buffet.
Well, they're right. So there's a reason why they do it marketing wise. I think one, it sounds less harsh,
promising,
like all you can eat. Oh, so we're all just fat people that are just going to eat all your food. If you say it all you can enjoy, I think maybe people are less likely to eat everything.
Right.
I don't know. There's got to be some psychological reason why they call that one thing or the other. But either way, I think that makes up for some of the money. I do kind of wish that they did include alcoholic drinks to a point. And what I mean by that is like give you a drink ticket.
Yes.
So you get like one or two free alcoholic beverages,
or like a little like punch card or something.
Or a punch card or something like that, like a wristband. If you're 21, they can, or 21 or over, they can snap your wristband and say, "All right, you've had your 2 drinks or whatever." That's the only thing I wish they included in it because that would make the $325 even easier to cough up.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I could eat $300 worth of Carnival.
Right. I mean, I'm sure we could easily eat at least $100 worth of food. I know I could.
I would.
I think that
beforehand.
Right. So I think really what it comes down to is the $325 to $350 worth it enough for you to say, I want to be able to go through the houses and not have to be kind of harassed by the house monitors, which unfortunately on a busy night, typically you are, because if you slow down even a little bit, they're like, come on, keep moving. Yeah. But with this, it seems like it's going to be a little different.
I know Nick is notorious for slowing down in houses, and I get so mad. I'm like, come on, you're gonna get in trouble.
No, I got a bad back, man. I got 2 herniated discs. Fuck off. Fucking back hurts.
They're gonna yell at us.
But yeah, I mean, I think
today.
If you want my opinion, I'm not super hung up on the price. I think one, it's expensive for sure. But for what you get, I think it's not necessarily that bad.
Right.
Now they had to do something to control how many people were going to go to it. Because I think when you first sent it to me, I was like, that's great and all, but what are they going to do to like make sure that it isn't?
What's the number?
Yeah. Is there a limit to how many people can buy a ticket to it? Like, how are you going to do staggered groups and have like 15,000 people there? So like, it kind of has to be, they have to do something. So if it's ticket price or if it's staggering the number or limiting the number or whatever it might be.
It didn't mention
makes sense.
The exact capacity, but I would assume it would maybe be half capacity of what Horror Nights would usually be.
I'm sure. Yeah. Right.
And then, they wouldn't announce that number. They wouldn't put that number out there.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But I mean, hopefully it'll be pretty good. It's honestly, it seems like it's more of your own leisurely RIP tour with the food, with the drinks and stuff like that. It'll just be a little bit different because I guess I would assume you'll be able to, if it's just the people in the park for this event specifically, that maybe the booths are just going to be set up like normal and you'll go around and pick up your food items, or maybe they'll have at the booths already set up, maybe like little like sample style stuff, so you could just like grab and go kind of thing.
My guess would be like
Maybe.
if you've ever been to like a private event at one of the theme parks, they
Exactly.
typically put out tables with the different food items.
Hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. It won't be like you walk
Yeah.
up to like the food cart and
Exactly.
order something you eat on a normal night.
Mhm.
It'll be, hey, these are the options we have in this section. These are the options, and they'll probably like theme certain things to certain houses, but
Yeah.
you won't get the full menu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I think you'll, if I had to guess, I would think you would get service at the food booths just to give them that like extra test run. But I don't think you would go and order. I think they would just have
Right.
their 1 or 2 items and you would just walk up and grab them.
Yeah, it says a selection of all you care to enjoy food items created by Universal's award-winning culinary team and inspired by this season's haunts.
Yeah.
So I think the purpose of this is not only to offer a really cool, interesting new thing, but to really get that extra test in, because now I would imagine that the cast member preview would be the night before this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would go cast member preview this night, which I think they would also split with media night.
I think so too.
I think they want to include more media, and they don't want to include them with the opening day crowd. So if they give them their own night, they don't want to open it for nothing, for free. So if they can sell a couple tickets for $300 a pop, mix them with the influencers and media and whatever.
This will be media night, yeah.
So I'm
Which
guessing
is-
this would be media night.
Which makes me think maybe they'll cut down on the amount of people they bring to media night, but I'm not sure, just depending on how, because I feel like in like videos I've seen before of like when like Grim Life went to like media night a couple times, I feel like they do it in the pulsating the lines anyways, at least from how their videos were. It seems like that.
So that's why I
So-
think they would increase media night, because it's not going to be on opening night, so they don't have to worry about all the media people plus opening, because you don't want to take
That's
away
what I'm
opening
saying,
day
yeah.
tickets. So I think you would increase media because
Yeah.
they're going to be on a whole separate night where they have control over the
I
crowd.
And they
feel like
probably realized.
Go ahead, Seamus, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say. I think they realized that they can't do media night and opening night at the same time. They have to do media night
feel
separately.
Like they used to do it on Team Preview member night. Maybe they
did. I
because
think there was. I think last year. I don't know how many years past that it's been media night and opening night, but I think it used to be Team Preview
that's
and
what I
media.
thought. Because some of the videos, it looks like there's like no one in front of them in the houses, like they're doing the pulsating
There
lines.
is. And
So
I
I
think
was
they set it
like,
up so that
yeah,
you can get video of it, and it'd
Gotcha.
be more natural.
yeah.
So I think they're going to combine the nights so that way
Which
they
would be
can
cool.
they can control
Yeah.
the media a little bit better while still making money off of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Right.
opening it the night before just for media and turning $0 profit,
Right.
it's you don't want to start your week your season by creating more of a deficit,
Right.
which is what you
Right.
exactly would be doing. So
Right.
it's
So
really cool.
Yeah, I think that as a podcast, we would agree that if you're like us and you get a frequent Fear Pass and potentially Express, this isn't worth it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that it necessarily is or it isn't for everybody. I probably would pay the $325. Hearing everything just now, I think that I probably would do it. And to be honest with you, I'd probably do it before I bought the Express Pass.
Yeah.
You think I'm a good salesperson?
Oh yeah, I think you are. You sold me, Jamie. But no,
Thanks,
really,
James.
I think that I do think that it would be a fun experience if they
would
do
be
this
very cool.
if they do this every year going forward. I don't know if I would do it every year, but I'd do it once just to experience it. It would be nice to kind of get to do the houses in smaller groups and not
For
just
sure.
just continuous line of people. But
What I'm curious about too is like if this is successful, I'm curious if they add more of these throughout the season on like a Monday or a Tuesday or something like that. Or maybe going forward, they say, hey, last year this worked really well. Let's make Mondays, every other Monday a premium night. So that way, if you want to come on that, like if you're coming for the weekend, this might, entice you to stay that Saturday, Sunday, and now Monday, pay that extra to have like your final night as like this pulsed at your pace kind of night.
I feel like that'd be a lot of work for the scare actors. Is the only thing that would work for me.
They have to hire more. They do.
I think
Yeah, true.
I would be of the opinion that, and I'd be worried that if that was the case, it wouldn't be let's add a night. It would be we're taking away a night. it might be that's like, so now Wednesdays are actually going to be the premium nights that you can add to your freaking Fear Pass if you want to, or you pay for separately. But like Jamie said, I don't see them adding nights just specifically for this, because you would have to add more staff. You'd have to have more scare actors. And I don't know if it's, maybe I'm just seeing things, but I feel like the last couple of years they've struggled to fill the houses on certain nights with enough scare actors that I don't know if adding a night just for premium would be worth it.
And this kind of also makes a little bit more sense now as to why they announced all the houses. Well, at least all the originals.
Mm-hmm.
You dropped this ticket without announcing anything.
Yeah. Who's going to buy it?
People aren't talking about it. People aren't buying it. I think it makes a little bit more sense now as to why they put these houses out.
Yeah.
And one of the other downfalls that we know from opening weekends is that it does take a little while for people to get in their grooves. Mm-hmm. So one of my worries about this kind of thing is that like you are paying this premium and you might not be getting the premium airs or this,
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So that's a little tough part too, where
I feel like they almost should have saved this for the end.
Yeah, like go out with a bang.
This like last weekends or like you're saying, Nick, if you want to do more than one, do a couple throughout the season. So do one at the beginning, in the middle of September, one in the middle of October, maybe one at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But it is a little interesting that they've chosen to do it like the first, like before opening night.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, but let's get into visitors. So, so you said you're interested in doing this, Jamie. Would you do this?
It's interesting as it sounds, and the pulsating lines really have me kind of hooked because I think it would be a really cool experience. We don't really get to do it as much. I know at Hallow Scream they do the pulsating line there. So, I mean, the price is tough.
If you had the money,
if I had the money, for sure, I would definitely do it because I think it would be 100%. Really cool. Like I said, I feel like this would be an RIP tour, but like at your own leisure, which I enjoy because personally, I know it sounds like kind of snobby of me. The only reason I've never done an RIP tour, I get kind of overwhelmed easily. I'm weird, but anyways, it's hard for me to follow a group like that and kind of having your night dictated. Even though people have told me you could kind of pick how you go, but if you're in there with other like random people who want to do something else and this and that and all that kind of stuff, I kind of think it's nice that you get to still have that experience of getting the short wait times, getting to do all the houses and getting to do it like on your own time.
Yeah. And I think with this event, with this specific night, I think you're just going to get in line and then they'll let the first like 10 people in, then the next 10 people in. It's not going to be like follow a group around.
Oh, no, exactly.
Like a smaller haunt. That's really what it's supposed to be like.
That's what I'm saying, which I think is great.
Yeah. The RIP tour it's similar, but I feel like it's different because you are kind of sticking with a group. You're following a particular tour guide. It's a little different.
It's fun for me, even though they do great at their jobs and they work very hard.
It is a little bit harder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's really all we have for like news, I would say, which is pretty unexpected. I didn't really think this was coming. You woke me up this morning. We're like, there's a Scream Pass thing. And I was like, fuck off. I'm trying to sleep. Like, I don't know what's going on right now.
I'll text you.
I was like, there's a Scream movie coming out. Like, what? Like,
premium Scream night.
And then I opened I saw the notification and I saw what looks like, I think they took it from the Stranger Things house. And I was like, did they announce a Stranger Things like house again? Like I was so thrown off by everything. But let's get into our call-ins real quick. We got one call-in.
More call-ins. Let's go.
I know, and I didn't even post about it. So if you're listening, Chris is crawling through the room. If you want to call into the show, you can call in at 689-244-0956. So we'd love to hear all your thoughts on everything. And I didn't remember to really post about it this week, but we still got a call in nonetheless. So let's go through this real quick and see what we're talking about.
Hey, Matt again. In regards to what you guys were saying about there being too much smoke in that Central Park scare zone, I had an idea. What if you just put the smoke things at the outer edges of it, enter and exit, to create like a wall of smoke, and then keep the inside smokeless? I think that'd be pretty cool, walking through the smoke and then just being able to see everything in the scare zone. Still have the smoke, but it's just like creates a wall so you can't see into it. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea.
That's a good idea.
They sort like it's so tough because like
he's saying like walking into like they'll have the fog machines kind of set up where you walk through it versus having it all through the scare zone.
Right.
Correct.
So you can see
and like
everything.
sometimes they have them on the outskirts, but they have them facing in, and the blast on those things like is crazy. Like
they're intense.
it's like going through a sauna sometimes because you'll just get like whacked in the face with
and depending on the weather too. Like either if it's like muggy out and warm, like it settles and it doesn't go anywhere. So I actually don't hate the idea because for me that's the biggest sticking point with that scare zone is half the time you're walking through it, you can't see anything because it's just
bump into people.
It's nothing but fog. So if they if they maybe plan it enough that you create almost like a wall of fog in the beginning at the entrances.
Yeah.
So when you kind of walk in, it kind of feels like it's closed off, creates a little bit more claustrophobia, makes that scare zone even more claustrophobic than it already is. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great idea.
Because I would have them on the outskirts, like not facing into the zones, but like up and down.
Yeah.
So it creates a tunnel, and obviously with the wind, it'll blow into the zone. Now, obviously they try to use some of the fog to like hide scares and whatever and hide people, but it gets a little too congested in there on top of the fog. So it's like, all right, like. I love the fog as much as the next, but like you can't even take into like you can't appreciate what's in there half the time. So that's a little bit of a tougher spot for me. But so let's get into our horror movie of the week. Me and Seamus went out and saw a horror movie, so we'll talk about that. So Jamie, have you watched anything in particular this week?
I have watched something recently, actually. I watched don't want to say new movie. It came out recently on digital and DVD and Blu-ray as like a re-release, as a remastered version. It's called We Go On. It's from 2016. It's kind of more like a psychological horror thriller. But Seamus, I don't know if you've seen this one. I made Nick watch it because I really enjoy it and I talk about it all the time. This kind of like, I don't want to say like more so like an indie horror movie, but it's called Yellow Brick Road. They have it on Tubi right now, and I think they have it on something else, but it's pretty interesting, from the same directors as that. Pretty much it's about this guy who is so encapsulated by the thought of like dying that he's willing to pay. He like puts an ad out and he's willing to pay like $30,000 to anyone who could like show him like a ghost, a demon, like something to prove that there's like an afterlife after death. And it kind of just goes on about that, but it was pretty good. I'm surprised it didn't really get as much. I think the score on Rotten Tomatoes was actually pretty well, like in the 90s. The audience score wasn't that great, but the critics were pretty good. But it's a pretty good movie. I think you would like it, Seamus, just with like the psychological thriller aspect. But that is what I watched recently.
Never heard of it before, but it definitely feels like it's a movie made. It seems like it's made about me, to be honest with you, because I've been having nothing but existential crises the last like 3 months. So
that's why I wanted to cover it.
Give this one a shot.
Yeah,
I'll have to find it.
But this past week,
92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Which obviously doesn't mean a whole lot. It just means that like 13 reviewers liked it, but still.
But me and Seamus went and saw Tarot in theaters, or
yes,
Tarot if you're an uncultured swine like myself who calls it Tarot.
Tarot.
It was fun. It was very much exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was very. You could have told me this movie came out in like 2007, and I would have believed you. It's very like not good but enjoyable horror movies.
Yeah, this is like mediocre Blumhouse. If that's what you're looking for, this is what you get.
Yeah, it's a fun idea. The execution isn't always there. The story is not there. The acting is definitely not there. But I really liked the character designs. I thought the character designs were really, really cool. The story, of course, very convenient at times. And, you know, it just felt like it would have been a perfect 2000s horror movie, like that Final Destination era. Like it fit the bill. And that's why I wasn't disappointed or disliked this movie, because that's what I had in my mind going into it. So to kind of get exactly what I wanted, which was, again, a mediocre horror movie, I was pleased with it. I thought it was an enjoyable, fun little watch. But Seamus, did you kind of have the same thoughts on it? Or
yeah, I didn't hate it. It's definitely a goofy, hard PG-13 horror movie. It is exactly what you think it's going to be. It's nothing special. There's no special twist in it. There's no like, oh my God, can you believe that they actually went there with it? Like it is exactly what you thought it was going to be. A bunch of 20-something-year-olds looking for acting jobs, and they got casted in a low, I don't know, low budget, but like a smaller budget, faux indie horror movie. And again, if that's all you're looking for, it's not a bad watch. It's nothing to scream home about. You can definitely tell with a lot of these movies that like they spend big on one particular actor because they want to get that one face in it, and then they put a whole bunch of like no names that you've never heard of before, never seen before, and they'll either hit or they'll miss. Because there was like a couple of the actors decent, they were actually pretty good. A couple of them that were I actually laughed audibly in the theater at certain points because of how much they were overacting. But either way, I mean, if you're looking for inventive kills, really cool looking monsters, it's worth a watch. I don't know if I would pay $15 for a movie ticket to go see it, but if you happen to pay for like AMC or something like that, like we do, and you're just looking for a movie to go watch, it's not bad.
Yeah. Well, that's all we had to cover today. I'll pull up one of the little designs.
Well, I will say that I did watch, we didn't get to talk about it last week. I did watch Thanksgiving, finally.
Oh, you did? Okay. You finished.
And that movie was great. I love that.
Sickening. I love it.
It's so good. It's just exactly what I was expecting. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize it immediately, but the voice changer that the killer uses is Eli Roth. It's his voice.
Okay. He always likes to sneak his way in there.
Yeah, it took me a minute to figure it out. I'm like, it's his voice being warped. But I mean, it wasn't a bad movie. I mean, it wasn't. It was one of those things where like you kind of saw the twist coming, but you didn't expect the twist to be what it was. And what I mean by that is, I don't want to give too much away, but like near the end of the movie, the killer gives up his handgun. And you're like, oh, well, here we go. He's going to get smoked now. And then turns out that actually, well, hold on a minute. Like, this is not where it's going. We think it's going to be. Like,
be him?
You're like, oh, all right. Okay. That's kind of cool. I mean, again, another one of those movies where like you have like one or two bigger named actors that they put a whole bunch of like random no names that you've never heard of before. And they do a pretty good job with it. So I didn't hate it. It was exactly what again, much like Tarot, it was exactly what you expected.
Yeah. So let's let me show one of the little designs off for those that are listening. If you want to head to YouTube,
if you stuck around long enough,
you get to see one of these. And I don't know how well it's on the camera. Let's go with this one. Let's go with the two-parter. So this one,
cute.
This one's going to be on the front chest.
Yeah,
smaller, a little, and then this is going to be the back piece of it.
Yeah,
it's sort of reflective, but
so it's going to be like a pocket tee style. It'll have a little design on the left hand or right hand side and on the front. Yeah.
Because Jamie and I are not nearly creative enough to do any of this stuff. This is all on Nick.
God,
so you get a little sneak peek right there if you're watching on YouTube. If you're just listening, head to our YouTube page. You get to see a little sneak peek.
I have great ideas, but
yeah. So those, like I said, will be on.
Same.
Those will be on sale in a couple weeks or so, give or take. But thank you for bearing with us. I know this was a little bit of a challenging episode with all the dogs and the noise and stuff like that. We are usually not this.
I feel like
chaotic.
We have some fans that all have dogs. They know. They get it.
We're sometimes there's some nonsense.
I have a
here
feeling
and there.
a lot of our fans are cat people, and I have cats, but I will never self-identify as a cat person. So
I'm definitely a cat person.
Yeah, so
you can't be though because you live with someone who can't have cats.
I know.
Impossible.
Unless we get a cute hairless cat.
You can have one of mine if you want to.
Trust me, my parents keep trying to pawn off my cat to come back to me to the house.
No,
to the
not gonna ever
because
happen.
your dad's sick and tired of doing the litter box. I get it. I'm with him on that one.
He does get frustrated, but he loves him deep down.
Alrighty, well, that about wraps us up. Until next time, this is Nick.
This is Catwoman.
This is Jamie.
Happy haunts.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare. And again, I would just like to thank Vampire Stepdad for letting us use his music for our intro and outro music. So if you would, just go check him out. Spotify, Facebook. Again, that is Vampire Stepdad.